Oh, it's a reading time. Today it's a chapter 4. Alright. The next morning, I showered and donned my generic uniform. I had this outfit done up for me years ago by an ex-con who learned to sew working the big machine in some federal penitentiary. The slacks were blue, gray, and unflattering, with a pale strip along the sorry seam. The matching pale blue shirt had a circle on velcro sew on the sleeves, which usually sported a patch that read Southern California Service. The shoes, left over from my days on the police force, were black and made my feet look like they'd be hard to lift. Once I added a clipboard and a self-important keyring, I could pass myself off as just about anything. Usually, I pretend I'm reading a water meter or checking for gas leaks. Any officious task that necessitates necessite necessities crawling through somebody's bushes and tampering with their security system. Today I slept on FTD patch and headed for the nearest florist where I laid out $36 for a massive bucket. I bought a syrupy Getwell card, scribbled an illegible name, and put in a quick call to the dry cleaning establishment where Bibiana worked. A woman answered this time. I'm sorry, are you able to see? I'm sure you're able to see. Oh, hi, I said. May I speak to the owner, please? This? The plan. He just left on his way over to the other place, he said. You want that number? Sure. She recited the number to me carefully and recited back as if I were writing it down. What did she know? She couldn't see what I was doing anyway. Thanks, I said. I hung up and hop in my car, flowers on the seat beside me. I drove over to the plant. There was a nice green length of curb out in front. 15 minutes of free parking. I locked the car and went in. I stood at the counter briefly, waiting for service. The place smelled of soap product, damp cotton, chemical, and steam. The area behind the counter was a forest of clothing in clear plastic bag. On my left, an elaborate electronic tram moved hanging garment in a tortuous track that snaked up and around, returning to the point of origin so that any garment on board could be delivered to the station when the proper number was punched in. To the right, a maze of overhead pipes sorted garments in the process of being pressed. There were 10 women within my visual range, most of them Hispanic, working machine whose function one could only guess. A radio had been tuned to a Spanish language station that was blasting out an up-tempo cut from Linda Ronstadt's album. Two of them sang as they worked, moving men's shirt expertly across the machine in front of them. With syncopated rhythm of the iron the shirt machine, the clouds of billowing steam. The place looked like the perfect setting for a musical number. One of the two singing women finally noticed me. She left her machine and came over to the counter where I was waiting. Oh, wow. I'm sorry. One of the two singing women finally noticed me. She left her machine and came over to the counter where I was waiting. She was short and compact, with a round face, eyes the color of chocolate M&Ms, and the coarse dark hair pulled into a snoot. The loose gold satin blouse she wore that was sprinkled with sequins. She glanced at the bucket. Those for me? I checked the attached florist card. Are you Bibiana Diaz? Nah, she's off this week. She won't be in at all. She won't be in at all? The woman shook her head. She hurt her back in this accident about 2 months ago, and it's still bothering her. The pain flares up, she says. Real bad. She can't hardly work. Boss told her, no way, don't come in. He didn't want no kind of lawsuit. She got a boyfriend? I turned the card over, holding it up to the light. Looks like a get well card, actually. Shoot, now what am I supposed to do? Take him to her house, he said. I can't, this is the only address he gave. You don't happen to have her home address, do you? Nah, I've never been there myself. The woman said she turned to one of the other women. Hey, look, where's Bibiana live? The second woman shook her head, but a third piped up. On Castano. I don't know the number, but it's this big brown house in front of in front, and her place is in the back. She got this little bungalow, real cute, between Huerto and Arroyo. The woman at the counter turned back to me. You know the block she's talking about? I'll find it, I said. Thanks, you've been a big help. Graciela, tell the guy to look me up as he gets tired of her. I got all the same equipment, just arranged different. I smile. I'll do that. The second address on Bibiana turned out to be a dang looking brown cottage at the back of a dang brown house, located in a midtown neighborhood distinctly down at the hill. I spotted the house in passing, then circled the block and parked across the street. I sat and scanned the premises. The lot was long and narrow, sheltered by the overhanging branches of magnolia, juniper, and pine trees. There was not a shred of grass anywhere, and what vegetation there was seemed in a desperate need of a trim. A cracked concrete drive cut along the property to the right. In the larger house in front, someone has nailed sagging floral print bedsheet across the window in lieu of drape. There were no cars in the drive. According to the claim form, her 1978 Mazda was still in the body shop, having the right side panel placed, among other things. I waited 20 minutes, but there was no visible activity. I torqued myself around, reaching into the backseat of the locked briefcase where I keep assorted false IDs for occasions such as this. I pulled a set of Hannah More, knit by neatly tucked into a plastic accordion file, California's driver license with my stats and a photo of me, Social Security, and a credit card for Visa and Chevron gasoline. Hannah Moore even had a library card since I want her to appear literate. I shoved my shoulder bag under the front seat and tucked the ID in my trousers pocket. I got out, locked my car, crossed the street, and made my way down the driveway. The tall trees on the property shaded it to an unpleasant chill, and I found myself wishing I'd brought a windbreak or a sweatshirt. The exterior of Bibiana's vintage cottage was a shaggy brown shingle, the perfect little shack for a swarm of hungry termites. I climbed two wide, cracking wooden steps to a tiny porch piled with junk. A casement window on the right side had the length of red cotton hung across the glass. I tried to peek in, but I really can't see much. The interior seemed quiet and there were no lights visible. I knocked on the door. taking advantage of the moment to survey my immediate surrounding. A metal mailbox was nailed to the siding near the front door. 7 addresses and stamp envelope were loose and tucked in catch crack, awaiting pickup by the mailman. So far, no one had answered my knock. The cottage had an unoccupied air, and I fancied I could already pick up the faintly musty scent generated by some dwelling with even the breaths of absence. I knocked again, waiting an interminable few minutes before concluding there was really no one home. Casually, I looked towards the big house, but there were no signs of life, no accusing faces peering out the window at me. I reached over and left my fingers tiptoe through the envelopes. When no alarm went off, I picked up the whole batch and sorted through them at my leisure. Forward bills. She was paying telephone, gas, electricity, and department store. There were two number 10 envelopes, on one addressed to Athena Insurance and one to Allstate, both with Lola Flores listed on the return address. Oh gee, wonder what that could be, I thought. Cheaters never quit. It looked like the scam extended beyond the claim against California Fidelity. The seventh piece of mail was personal letter addressed to someone in Los Angeles. I plucked it out of the stack, folded, slipped it down the waistband of my trousers into my panties. Shame on me, that's a federal crime. The stealing part, not the underpants. I turned the rest of the letter to the catch rack, suppressing the impulsive to run. I stunted off the porch, ambled up by the drive, and crossed the street to my waiting car. I opened the car door on the passenger side, tossed the clipboard on the front seat, barely missing the pocket, and locked it up again. I could see a mini market at the corner of Huerto and Arroyo, about 10 houses down on the right. I headed in that direction in hope of finding telephone. The market was tiny mom and pop operation. The front windows peppered with the hand letter advertisement for beer, cigarette, and dog food. The interior was dimly lighted, and there were sawdust on an uneven wooden floor that looked like it had been there since the place was built. The shelves were jumbled canned goods in no particular order that I could discern. Freestanding shelves formed two narrow aisles, crowded with everything from Pampers to Jello to lawn care product. Near the front, there was a refrigerated soft drink case and an accident crypt-style freezer filled with frozen vegetable, fruit juice, and ice cream bars. Mom was standing at the front counter, white apron, half-smoked cigarette in one hand. She's probably 65, with a stiffly sprayed flip of blonde hair and a white scalp mustache where she had the wrinkle dermabrable dermabrated off her upper lips. The skin on her face had been hiked up and tucked behind her ears, and her eyes had been squinted into an expression of permanent amazement. You have a, you have a pay telephone? Back by the stock room, she said, pointing with her cigarette. A half-inch ash dropped off and tumbled down in front of her apron. I dropped 5 nickel into the coin slot and called Manny Bellflower, giving her Bibiana Diaz's hard work address. Thanks, this is great, she said. I've got a pack of form I can sleep. Oh my god, tonight I'm so tired. I guess that's all. Good night.